Movie was about.
Yeah. Yeah. Lights, camera, action is going down. For my ATL movies, when we run this town with your host, T-Will, yeah, keeping it real. From the A to the screen, you can feel the thrill. Rolling with the classics, we're setting the pace. Highlighting the magic of our soulful space. Got the vibe, got the crew, making it tight. When the screen lights up, everything feels right. Grab your popcorn, let's make it loud. T-Will, T-Will. It's movie time, ATL style. Stand proud. From the silver screen to the hearts we steal. T-Will, T-Will. Every frame we capture is a real deal. Yeah. Talking premieres where the stars align. ATL views, yeah, they really shine. Behind the lens, capture.
Movie fans everywhere. Welcome to the For My ATL Movies 1 presentation of 4 Oscar films. And tonight we start with Frankenstein versus One Battle After Another. It's myself, your host T-Will, and my co-host over here, Mr. Jordan Burden. Jordan, how you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Hey, man. All good. No worries. Excited about the Oscars and excited to take a look at these two films. And hey, man, nothing like the present. You and I were just talking about One Battle After Another off camera. And wow, man, this movie has more plots than, I don't know, than Star Wars has sequels. I mean, I don't know. It's a lot of plots going on in this one. Good movie. I found that at times it was kind of hard to keep up with because it was so much going on. I believe the runtime is 2 hours and 41 minutes. Probably could have done it about 2 hours, but hey, man, that's okay. It was written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, who did, what's the other one? He's did one with Daniel Day-Lewis, which is, help me out, Jordan. Blood. There Will Be Blood or something like that. He did There Will Be Blood. He also did Magnolia. And he's done some good films. This one was kind of, it's not a bad film. And no way is it a bad film. It's just all over the place. The film stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, Regina Hall, Tiana Taylor, and the character, Chase Infinity. Sorry about that. And Chase Infinity plays the daughter of Pat Calhoun, better known as Bob Ferguson in the movie. I guess his nickname in the movie as it starts is Ghetto Pat. And also his love interest is Tiana Taylor, better known as Perfidia Beverly Hills. That's right. Her name is Perfidia Beverly Hills. I don't know if her mom gave her that name, but whatever. They belong to a revolutionary group or terrorist organization or organization of freedom fighters, whichever you choose. They are a radical activist group called the French 75, and Perfidia is a politically radical organizer and revolutionary figure. She was involved in militant actions against the government. She blew up some stuff, okay? Her past actions helped spark the larger conflict that unfolds in the film. Perfidia literally means betrayal of treachery, which reflects the film's broken trust in government and political fallout. But anyway, let's get back to it. So essentially, this movie is about this. Pat Calhoun, or Bob Ferguson, is a former radical revolutionary group of the French 75, or member of the group, the French 75. Years earlier, the group carried out violent resistance against institutions of power. I believe they blew up a detention center. They blew up something with an abortion clinic. They blew up some stuff. Okay. Now, 15 years later, Bob lives in hiding as a paranoid, burned out pothead trying to escape his past. The past comes back when Colonel Lockjaw, played by Sean Penn, I believe, who is a brutal and hateful figure and is a bigot and just everything wrong with society today, decides he wants to, well, join another bigoted organization called the Christmas Adventures Club. It's basically the who's who of billionaire racists. And, they want to go about racial purification of the world. And he wants to be a part of it because, hey, he's excellent at everything he does. So that's how the conflict essentially ensues. They want to give him some marching orders to go and find these folks who are essentially Bob Calhoun and his daughter. I guess, I don't know why they want his daughter. I know they want to kill Bob. I don't know why they want his daughter. But anyway, those are the marching orders that they give him. And the movie plays out with him trying to go about capturing her, which is the main conflict, sorry about that, between Bob and Colonel Lockjaw. What a name. Jordan, give me your thoughts on just this premise and where we are at this juncture.
I feel like before I get into anything, this movie is very heavy in political matters, and we're not used to covering anything politics. We cover sports, we cover movies, Marvel stuff. We're nerds. We love being nerds. So this is really the first time that I think we're going to be discussing politics in any sort of video, and you have to when it comes to a movie like this. So I want to make it very clear. We're going to get the microphone out for this. When I get the microphone out like this means it's very important.
Oh, wow.
I don't care what political side you are. I don't care. I don't side with either party. I don't care. I want to go home, go to sleep, wake up, go to work, and live my life and have fun. I don't care about politics that much. You want to talk about certain things with me? Go ahead. We can have a civil conversation. But what I find in this movie is that both sides are very stupid. So that's all. This movie is basically a hilarious take on both sides of politics. Both popular sides of politics. I want to make that very clear. I've done a lot of I do my research on taken many history classes and political classes, so I'm very well informed on politics. I just don't have a side. But when you are like me and you don't have a side, it's funny to see certain things happen in this movie where you have people who are very far on the left side doing things that are hilarious and very outlandish, and then you have people on the right side also doing stuff that's very hilarious and outlandish. And this is where things blend together in their hilarious, outlandish stuff, and you get this movie. And this movie, I'm going to say this because I've been saying it for the last 24 hours since I watched this movie. It feels like if Martin Scorsese and Seth MacFarlane both got high with each other and decided to watch Pineapple Express and were like, hey, man, let's make a movie together. That's what it feels like. I don't like Martin Scorsese personally. He has very strong opinions against like Marvel and stuff, and I'm one. I love all film, and I think if you are purposely attacking one part of the film industry, especially one that's making the film industry billions of dollars every single year, maybe you should be attacking the wrong. You're attacking the wrong person, wrong group. So yeah, I have a personal just don't really care for Martin Scorsese.
Yeah,
but a lot of his films. Political matters, of course. That's the serious tone where you get in the first hour and a half of this movie. And Seth MacFarlane, I love him dearly. For Family Guy, for Ted. Ted season 2 is out now. That's not a promotion. That's just saying maybe we should go watch it because I really want season 3, even though he said it's probably not going to happen. And American Dad. I mean, he's done so many different shows. And I love his comedic tone and everything because he just doesn't care. There's also a randomness to all those shows and movies where you just are watching it and it's so inconsistently consistent. That's the best. I don't even know how to describe it. You just have random moments, but it's so funny because the whole point of it is comedy. It's not about telling a story. What this movie is doing is trying to tell a story with the political matters that someone like Martin Scorsese would be bringing, while also having so much randomness between we have just revolution stuff with the French 75, and at first I'm thinking this is like a powerful movie centered around certain organizations like radical revolutionary groups. Then we turn into, okay, maybe this is some sort of love triangle type thing. Nope, it's not. Then it's just this this she gives birth and she's going through postpartum depression. It's either postpartum depression or she just flat out does not care because of her political opinions. And because the reason I say that is that interaction that Leonardo DiCaprio and her have in this film, it like when Bob has the baby in his hands and is like saying, "Where are you going?" and she's so into her political mindset. Either she's in her political mindset or her postpartum depression is getting to her.
Yeah.
Look, I don't mess around with postpartum depression. There are a lot of mothers out there that go through that, and it's a very serious thing. And it's always great to talk to them or let them talk to you, or always great to seek help for that. But I don't know whether it was that or her political mindset. And what I think it was is I think it was her political mindset based off of what she was doing while she was pregnant, shooting guns and stuff, just not caring, acting like she wasn't even pregnant at all. That's what makes me think it was her political mindset, not postpartum depression. But you get into that, then it turns into this Pineapple Express style movie where it's like, all right, Leo's high. They took the child because the child is Colonel Lockjaw's biological daughter, but Leo doesn't know that, and even by the end of the movie, he doesn't know that. And also we have Benicio del Toro, he was fantastic in this. If there's one actor in this whole movie that was fantastic, and I was like, I really like this dude, it was Benicio del Toro. He's so cool. Then we're getting into like karate, and then but Benicio del Toro is both a karate teacher, but also knows like everybody, and everybody knows him, and there's just so much going on. And then Colonel Lockjaw does we turn into the daughter gets not kidnapped but taken by the French 75 like members that Bob knew just for safety.
Right.
And they go to like not even I don't even think it's really a nunnery. It could be a nunnery, but it's not really a nunnery. I don't really know if it was a nunnery. But we got nuns now that are like smoking weed and selling weed and stuff like that. And this whole time, Leo is just he's high and he's trying to find an outlet to charge his phone for like a solid half hour. He keeps plugging in his charger to try and charge his phone to call his daughter or call someone. And and Benicio del Toro's like, we gotta go, and he's like, dang it, gotta unplug it. It keeps going, and this is whole chase where he just keeps on trying to plug in his phone and find an outlet. Oh my goodness, there's so much going on, and then by the end of the movie, like, oh, we haven't gotten to the Christmas stuff with the white supremacist group, like that's all going on. I have a headache talking about how much is going on in this movie.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, long story short, the white supremacist dude comes in to try and kill Sean Penn and his character Colonel Lockjaw for having relations with a black woman, not for any other reason, just because he had intercourse with a black woman. Nothing at all. That literally, that's why he was going to kill him. And by this time, Colonel Lockjaw is trying to get his daughter killed because he doesn't want this, like, I guess, on his conscience or anyone else to know about this and stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, it's been like 16 years. Nobody's known about it already. Like, you're still the only one who's known about it. And oh my goodness, and there's so much going on in this movie. How am I supposed to recommend this movie to someone? Who am I supposed to recommend this to? Because I can't recommend it to anyone who is a Republican or Democrat. Do I recommend it to someone who loves comedy? No, I don't want to do that. I don't know who I recommend this movie to. I think I've talked enough about this. There's just so much going on. My brain is on fire from this movie and how much is going on. And all three of the other movies that we do, I'm gonna have nothing but positive things to say. There's gonna be some stuff where I'm like, yeah, I wish they did this. Those are gonna be stereotypical. This movie, I got no idea why it's up for Best Picture. No idea. This is the stereotype. This is where I'm gonna attack the Oscars and everybody, all the people a part of the Oscars. And it's not all of the people because it's just a large majority of them. The people who put these nominees together, I don't think they actually I think they might look too much into films to the point that it's like, if you showed them The Little Mermaid, they'd be like, oh, The Little Mermaid is such a female empowerment movie that shows the natural beauty of it's that type of stuff where you could throw any movie at them, say, oh, this is an Oscar nominated movie, and they'd be like, yeah, it definitely is. That's how this movie is. This is your stereotype Oscar movie that's getting nominated, and it's just I don't understand. I don't understand.
Yeah, I think Perfidia. Let's talk about it. So, again, we do a lot of research, as you know, you and I do a lot of research before we do these, and there was some negative feedback regarding her character, particularly from African American women who feel like she's hypersexualized, right? Like, oh, babe, let's have sex while the bombs are going off, like, ridiculous stuff. But I think that Perfidia is a bit of a narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
I think she definitely is going through bipolar syndrome. And I think she's an adrenaline junkie.
Yes.
I think she's an adrenaline junkie. I think a large part of why she was into Bob was that he was providing a thrill. He was the bombs guy. He was the demolition expert. She loved that. She loves bombs going off. Like that's the thrill of it for her. And sometimes when as a matter of fact, today is my 33rd anniversary. So happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Happy anniversary, Kim. I love you. My morning, my afternoon, my every evening, and thank God for taking sympathy on this old dude 33 years ago. But in all seriousness, I dated a lot before Kim, and the one thing I realized is people can like things about you, but not like you. They can like that you're outgoing. They can like that you're handsome. They can like that you do things well. They can like that you are, wealthy. They can like that you have a great body. They can like things about you, but when it boils down to it, they don't like you, right?
The idea of you.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that's what's going on here, right? I think she does have a little bit of postpartum depression because she's talking about the resentment of her child, which is one of the traits of that. So I think there's a bit of it, but I think she rationalizes the behavior. I think she knows she has a problem. I think she knows she's not right in the head, but she rationalizes it by saying, "Oh, you want to control me, huh? Well, you don't. Well, you won't. You won't tell me what to do. You need to be in control." Like she's making it about him because deep down inside, she knows she's wrong for leaving, right? Because think about it. If you felt like you're right, you do it in the open. She's trying to sneak out. When we see her, she doesn't see him. She's trying to just leave and sneak out, and she's made up in her mind to do it. Okay? But I think she knows she's wrong. I think it's just she's one of the there's a bit of a femme fatale in her, but I think she's one of those characters that has no impulse control. She might be bipolar. She has no impulse control when it comes to certain things. Because number one, you're out here doing a lot of this stuff with no mask on. You do, and they don't tell us what the time frame is. I mean, we can guess it, but they don't really tell us what the time frame is, right? But you're doing a lot of these acts. You're blowing up buildings with no mask on. You call a senator and tell him Perfidia Beverly Hills, bitch. Like, what? What are you? I mean, if you are a part of a terrorist organization or a freedom fighter, I would imagine you wouldn't want your information out there. You wouldn't be, you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know any terrorists, but I'm just saying, I would imagine you wouldn't want that. So there's a bit of devil may care or carelessness about her. And then, and I use this for the purposes of this movie only. So if you're watching this, please don't be offended. But the character Jungle Pussy, played by the actress Jungle Pussy, who's actually a rapper. I looked that up. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. You telling me that right now?
Right.
Until now.
I did not know her. But she goes on this monologue about power, right? And takes her mask off during the commission of a robbery. That is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. So I did not understand what you're going for there. I don't know why you would do certain. It's like you're trying to taunt them into coming after you. Like you doing this in the first place isn't going to taunt them into coming after you. Right? All right. And then, so we have the bank robbery and all of this takes place. I feel like we need to take a step back because we kind of missed the entire romance of Bob and Perfidia because it's so quick. Okay. But they have this brief affair in the beginning and Bob is clearly in love with her. And I think Perfidia is in love with the idea of Bob being in love with her and blowing up shit because that's who she is. She's not the deepest character. She doesn't really have substance yet because she's all about the thrill. Like, understand, there are people out here that will attach themselves to a movement, not because they believe, but because they like the action. Let's think about it. She's young. She doesn't know herself. She doesn't know what makes her tick yet. She's young. And we see this in that, right? Anyway, they have this whirlwind romance. They have sex in all these crazy places. She gets pregnant. There's a scene of her shooting a machine gun on top of her pregnant belly, which tells you everything you need to know about her as a mother. Like, she's not thinking about this kid. You can't be. Are you
Welcome to
serious?
America. That was Welcome to America. The only thing she was missing was a beer in her other hand.
I love the way this gun. That's crazy. I don't know, man, but like I say, I think a part of her was, I think she's an incredibly flawed individual. She may be a little bit bipolar. I don't know that she thinks things out. I think she thought life would be great with Bob until she experienced life with Bob and found out, you know what? I don't really like Bob. Now that we have responsibilities, now that we have a daughter, now that it's not just about me, I don't like Bob. And I don't like my daughter either. And I'm going to leave. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But anyway, we got to go. We got other things to discuss. Bob Ferguson, also known as, Bob Ferguson, basically, is who his name is changed to once he goes on the run. 15 years later, it's interesting because I think he's heartbroken. And I think he just put everything he had into raising his daughter, but he's a stoner at this point. He just wants to get high and get through his existence as best he can. Like, that's the vibe I get from him. This was once a, dare I say, vibrant freedom fighter. You know what I mean? I don't know that we'd call him gregarious, but he had, a little bit of swag to him, as the young folks would say. But as he's gotten older, he's gotten paranoid, right? Because the one thing that he values in this world is no longer his political affiliations or associations. It's his daughter, right? And of course, she's brought up thinking that her mother is a hero. And so she has all of these ideologies that are within her, but she also has become the de facto parent to Bob, who basically just gets high all day. And that's what he does, right? So really the daughter is the parent and the parent is the child in this mixed up dynamic, right? It's interesting. She wants to know the truth. And I don't know that she trusts him completely. Because she questions him a lot, which adds tension to their relationship. And she represents a generation that wants to understand the truth about political battles that shapes the world, right? But she's young. And the problem is young folks often don't listen. Anyway, they have this scene where she's about to go out with her friends. And it's funny because I saw myself in this scene where her friends show up and dude knocks on the door really hard. He's like, "Hey, homie, you all right? You always knock on doors this hard? Yeah? Okay, stay right here." And he closes the door. And then he's trying to tell her to take this device so she'll be safe. And she's arguing with him. And then he opens the door back up, grabs her by his head and says, "Look, whatever you do to her, I'm going to do to you, but worse." And she's like, "Dad, what are you doing?" He's like, "Nothing. We're just talking. We're just hanging. We're just hanging. All right, homie, have a good time. Homies, you guys going out?" It's so funny because I see myself when my daughters were teenagers in this moment because I was exactly that asshole dad that was like, "Man, I will, woo." But in front of my daughters, like, "Hey, honey, how you doing?" I will cut I will. You know what I mean? It's that type thing. But anyway, I've been talking a while. Give me your thoughts on this scene and what's going on here.
Well, I mean, this is where this point forward is where the comedy really picks up. Because before this scene, if you told me this movie was a comedy, I'd be like, you are actually joking. Like, this is not a comedy whatsoever. But like going forward, maybe it's the fact that he's high that adds another element to this, because it's like, I shouldn't say we all have that one friend, but some of us have had that one friend that gets high all the time, and you're like, they can't do anything seriously, and it's the funniest thing when they try to go about doing just normal things, but they're just stoned the whole time. I mean, I've known quite a few people who are like that. So watching this, I was picturing a couple friends of mine, and I'm like, yeah, that's definitely them. And I think he gets high to like suppress his emotions. I mean, he says that later on in the film that like he got high to suppress those like old memories and stuff like that. And I think that's where it's sad to see, because a lot of people do that, not just with marijuana, but just in general other drugs too. And I understand his daughter like wanting to like learn more, and she just wants to know more, and like it's this constant argument where it's two walls yelling at one another. And you have Bob, who's doesn't want to talk about the past and is trying to cloud that, but then it's clouding his judgment for being present and anything that happens in the future. Right. And with his daughter's trying to learn about her past
and
who she is now, but not thinking about what that could entail for her future.
Yeah.
So they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. And I think the rest of this movie is them overcoming that. That's probably the deeper meaning of this movie. I don't think there's a deep meaning behind this movie whatsoever. I want to make that very clear. There's so much randomness that I don't like. What am I going to say? This is a father-daughter movie. No, it's not. It's not. Are drugs bad? Yeah, but that's not what this movie's saying. I mean, is alcohol bad? Yeah, they're drinking and driving in this movie a lot. This movie's pro drinking and driving. Very clearly pro drinking and driving. The deepest meaning of this movie is just, I guess, understanding and moving on. It's something that Bob had to do, and it's something that his daughter had to do. And then it's just randomness from here on out. It's Pineapple Express too. This movie.
I think there's some themes, and one of the themes is that I don't want to say terrorist groups, but cults, terrorist groups, freedom fighter organizations, they typically crumble from within. They are not usually dominated or overtaken by outsiders. They crumble because somebody on the inside betrays somebody else. And this holds up to be true. The first one being Perfidia, and that's why I say it also expresses that a lot of us in our commitments are full of it, for lack of a better term. They're just full of it, right? Because the first thing she does, you know what? And we keep missing stuff because we have to talk about this. We got to go back to the relationship between Perfidia and Lockjaw, because the first time she meets him, there's no easy way to say this. She forces him to give himself an erection, which is weird, which is really weird. I did not understand that. And again, I know Perfidia is kind of weird in she has her own, eccentricities or whatever, but she forces him to get an erection and marches him out in front of not in front of a bunch of people, but by some bystanders who probably notice his erection. And then she locks him behind a gate and he says, "I'm going to get you for this," which is again, weird dynamic, right? Weird. I don't know what that's, I've never heard anybody doing that. Like, you got to get an erection or I'm going to kill you. Like that That makes no sense to me. And maybe she took a look at him and figured this guy is racist as all get out, and maybe he can't do it. But little does she know he has a thing for black women. So there's this weird dynamic between the both of them, and I think that PTA, the director, I think he's saying something here. I'm not going to get into what he's saying, but I think this is a callback to slave owners who, for lack of a better term, laid with their slaves and created offspring. It would have to be. It would have to be. Okay. So anyway, they have another encounter where she's in the commission of getting ready to blow up a building or do something, and he catches her. And he says, and she's like, what can I do? Help me. And he's like, be at this address or whatever. And she goes to the address and they have sex. He could have caught her there, but they have sex. And she just gets up and leaves, which again is weird. It's just weird. Okay.
I think with Colonel Lockjaw, it was more of like he had a thing for not just black women, but just someone because he's a superior figure in military. There's not really anyone above him, so
who can say no to him.
Yes, so having someone who can be a superior figure in the bedroom is like a kink of his. And that is where he begins to have that sort of thing. And you can very clearly tell by some of the way that whole situation goes down that he likes that sort of thing.
You're saying he's a submissive, is what you're saying.
Oh, yes. He likes being it behind closed doors, yes. He doesn't like to show it, but he is. Yeah.
Okay.
Very weird.
I mean, we could spend a week on Freud's calendar with this guy because he is a walking dichotomy. I mean, a devout racist, This guy believes, okay, but he loves black women. As a matter of fact, he says it as he's taunting Bob's character. He says, "I like black women." Just in the grocery store in the line, and just walks off, which. I don't understand. Like black women, and just walks off, right? Like, and I get what he was trying to do. He's trying to taunt this guy by basically saying, "I had sex with your girl," but he's such a racist. He's not going to say, "Well, I don't know." He said he liked black women, so maybe I don't know why he does this. I don't know what value this is to the movie. I did not understand that. I like black women.
You like black girls? I love them. I love them.
It's such a random scene. It's such a random scene. I want it to, like, this is, if there's one meme I can take from this whole movie, it's that scene and the phone calls, the first phone call scene with the payphone. And he's like, what time is it? And he's like, I don't remember what time it is.
Right.
Like, this scene is like, he's like, I love black women.
That's just crazy.
And he immediately walks away from the whole situation.
I still don't understand what's going on there, but whatever. But the thing about Bob, and the funny thing about Bob that you just alluded to, is when Bob leaves, they give him a list of booklets, and I guess they have protocols and certain things they say to each other because they can't just call up and say, "Hey, I was in your organization 15 years ago, and I need a safe place to go." They have to talk in code. And Bob, being a stoner and trying to forget everything, has forgotten some of the protocols, which is kind of funny because when he's engaging these people, and he's trying to get his daughter back, okay? He's trying to get his daughter back. But when he's engaging these people, he's forgotten some of the protocols. So half of the movie is him, hey, man, get your supervisor on the line. I can't remember this. And and it is funny. That's
the Pineapple Express of this movie.
Yeah.
It's just he's high and he's trying to figure out everything.
Yeah, it's a little funny. It's a little irritating, but it's a little funny. But here's what it boils down to. So, these Christmas adventure dudes, they take this racial purity thing very seriously, Jordan. Very seriously. So much so that they ask him, have you ever had an interracial affair? And he says, no. Okay. They ask him if he's ever not paid a bill. And he says, well, he purchased one thing and it wasn't what it was. It wasn't what it was supposed to be. So he just didn't pay it. I guess your credit worthiness has to be good as well to be in this white supremacist organization. Who knew they were sticklers for this sort of thing? Anyway, so he goes about trying to find Bob's daughter, not only to find Bob's daughter, but he needs to find out if she's his. Because if she is his daughter, he has every intent to kill her. And then his secret is safe from the world and he can go join his, little playtime, we're racist Christmas adventure group. And he's kind of naive because these are billionaires. If they have the wherewithal to find out where she was and where Bob was, it's sad that the thought doesn't hit him that they're going to find out that I slept with so-and-so. They're going to find out. They're going to know. They're going to find out. That's what's sad about this. And anyway, obviously, let me tell you something. The one person you do not want chasing you is Lockjaw, because this dude's relentless. He is very good at what he does, and he ends up finding her. He ends up capturing her, and he takes her, off to this little, I don't want to say villa he has, but this off the beaten path place that he has. And he says, look, I'm about to do a DNA test. If you're not mine, we got no problems. But if you are mine, we got a problem. And wouldn't you know it, Jordan, she's the offspring of this devout racist, which is, oh my God, there's so many things going through my mind because, wow, you hate us, but anyway, whatever. And so he fully intends to get rid of her and gives the instructions to one of his subordinates. And the subordinate that he gives the instruction to, I don't know if he's a Latino or Native American, but either way, he doesn't agree with it. And he takes her to his hideout with the rest of his supremacist homies, not the ones that are part of the Christmas adventure. No, these guys are subordinate to him. And the henchman decides not today and goes on a killing spree and kills all of the remaining henchmen at the hideout, which essentially gives Bob's daughter a chance to escape. And so she goes and finds a vehicle, I guess, that the henchman brought her in, hot wires it, finds the key, some kind of way she gets it started. And, she's taken off and she's trying to get away. And Lockjaw, who I don't think is aware that she's gotten away, is just traveling on his way to the destination, I guess, to make sure that his orders have been followed. And wouldn't you know it, one of the servicemen of the Christmas Adventure Club have shown up to dispose of Lockjaw because they found out he's a liar. They found out that he is racially impure, that he has sown his seed, his biological seed, with that of an interracial or African-American woman. Thusly, he is no longer racially pure, and they have to dispose of him. And they shoot his face off with a 12-gauge shotgun, or actually shoot him in the head with a 12-gauge shotgun, which, I, for one, didn't mind. I didn't mind it at all. This guy was the disgusting human being. And so just watching that happen to him, I'm not going to say made me happy, but I didn't mind it. Let's put it that way. Anyway, he goes off and crashes or whatever. And now he's going after the seed of their illegal union, Bob's daughter. And Bob's daughter passes him on the way down. And she's smart because she figures, I'm not going to outrun this guy. So you know what she does, Jordan? She comes to a complete stop, gets out of the car, right? Goes over to an embankment that's nearby, waits on this guy to come because it's over the horizon. Where she stopped is just over the horizon, over the hill, and you can't see it until you're right up on it, which is smart. And just as we just predicted, that's absolutely what happened. He comes up over the horizon, just sees her, and crashes into it, causing him to have an accident. And so he's discombobulated. As he gets out of the car, she says to him the password, or essentially a phrase that he has to respond with the phrase. And when he goes, "What?" she unloads on him. And she's a pretty good shot, killing him. Okay? And then her dad shows up and she asks him the phrase again. And he's like, "I don't remember, but I'm your dad. I'm your dad. Come on. I'm your dad," which really he's not her dad. Well, not biologically, but he is her dad in the way that he raised her. And, she eventually comes out of whatever shock she's in, because she's clearly in shock because she just got kidnapped. And this white supremacist wanted to kill her, which I would imagine, she's just had to leave her high school dance. It's probably a lot going on for her. So anyway, she finally says, "Yes, you're my dad," and folds herself into his arms, and, everything is okay. And then in the next scene, we see that her dad gives her a letter from her mom. And, he says, "Hey, you can go and read this to yourself if you want. I just didn't want to hurt you." She asked him if her mom was a rat, if she did. And her mom was a rat. She did inform on the group. I think that was one of the things about this film. Another truism about this film is that most people are not who they say they are, right? Because you had these hardcore, I don't want to call them terrorists, but terrorists. And as soon as they go to this place where they torture you, they give up the ghost. Like the first thing, Perfidia does is, "Well, what can you do for me?" You go from hardcore, you know what I mean, to what can you, there's no fight, there's no torture. That's okay, I'm caught. What can you do for me? And you give up the group. Now, I'm not sure if she gave up Bob and her daughter. I'm not sure. Because I feel like if she did, they would have been caught. So maybe she doesn't give them up, but she surely gives up everybody else. Okay. And I say this, fast forward, because she writes her daughter this letter like, "I just love you, and I pray I get a chance to talk to you. And I pray that, she kind of owns it, but kind of doesn't." Like, I got to be honest, I was pissed hearing that letter. Because I'm like, you're a Judas. You violated everything you stood for. You walked away from her. Like, this letter should be you on your knees. And it just wasn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Give me your thoughts on that scene and just what's going on.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like when I was hearing this letter, I'm like, from what I saw in the beginning, I just didn't care. Mainly because, unless she was having prepartum depression and postpartum depression, but before she gave birth to her, she was still very just nonchalant about the fact that she's pregnant and just not caring at all. So when she wrote this letter, when was she writing this letter that she just had this sudden change of heart? Because it seemed like the entire time that we knew her that it never felt like she would ever have these genuine words to say. So I had a hard time accepting any words that were positive out of this letter, mainly because there was never any sort of the mom never gave us any sort of reason for us to know.
Right.
And so for this to come out, it's too little too late almost.
Yeah.
So I felt like it was unnecessary. And I felt like it would have been a little bit more powerful if this was not something that she told her, but if Leonardo DiCaprio had a monologue or something at the end of this, where he gets clean and where he's while he doesn't know that he's still not her biological dad, like saying like I will almost be there for you no matter what and stuff like that, and we will like it seemed like we were having something without like that without saying it, with like her getting a phone and him getting a phone and them like figuring out like life past this like that revolutionary movement that Leonardo DiCaprio's Bob was a part of. So I don't know. It just felt like it was so unnecessary, and it felt like I lacked any sort of emotion in hearing that. And I was a little frustrated because I'm like, this is just felt like something that this character wouldn't have done. And I just have a hard time believing that she actually wrote this and cared.
Even if she did, my response would be like, I just it the punishment doesn't fit the crime, or the redemption does not fit the crime. Like, bro, you just left.
Also, not to interrupt, but like this, she never met her mom. She doesn't remember her mom.
Right.
So like these are the words of a woman she's never met.
Right.
And trying to understand them. So like, all right, I've heard a lot of people talk about people who have passed away and like their opinions. Like, all right, for example, my great grandfather passed away before I was born. That's why my middle name is Nicholas. His name is Nicholas. I don't know who he is, so I never met him. So I don't really have any sort of like connection that like my parents had with him or my grandparents had with him. This is somewhat that like I have more of a connection with my neighbors than I do him, just because I've talked with my neighbors and I've known my neighbors for a little bit. This is a person that I've been told about by other people, but I don't know that actual person. And it's a similar instance here. It's like, this is a person that she does not remember. And she does not know that if she walks past her right in front of her on the street, she probably would not know who she is.
Mm-hmm.
So, and vice versa, she probably wouldn't know who her daughter is.
Right.
So, I had a hard time believing that this is actually how it would have happened. But anyways, sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's all good. I can believe that Bob's daughter would read the letter with anticipation, because she's never met her. She's only heard about her. So I can believe that. But to your point, I don't feel like she would write that letter. Like as you know, most folks who are that damaged stay that damaged. I just, but let's talk about some themes. The aftermath of the revolution. Unlike many films about revolution, this story focuses on what happens after the movement collapses. The characters must live with the consequences of the violence and idealism that once defined them. And that is very true. Generational conflict. Bob's daughter becomes central to the story, symbolizing how younger generations inherit political struggles they do not create and often don't understand. Ideology versus reality. The film explores how revolutionary ideals can fade when confronted with time, trauma, and personal responsibility. And that is very true, because I think there were 3 different snitches, or at least 2. There may have been 3 different snitches. I think there were. So there was Perfidia.
Mm-hmm.
There was the guy that took in when they were like, "We have your sister," and he was like, "Okay, well, you can go here," and he gives up their names immediately. And then there was Regina Hall's character, who I think they asked her some question, and she may have told them one thing, and then they just immediately killed her. But it is true that oftentimes there are so many people that are. For me, it's about the dynamics of a group, in that people will do things in a group that they wouldn't necessarily do by themselves. You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
The group mindset, the group mentality, the mob mentality takes over, and they will do things. But then when confronted with those consequences, they don't want to pay the tax.
Mm-hmm.
So they give up the ghost, right? And then the other thing is the satire of extremism, and that is true. This movie is definitely about satires of extremists on both sides, right? Because to be honest with you, most of the people, save Bob's daughter and Guillermo del Toro's character, they're kind of jerks. they're not the greatest people on both sides, right? So whatever. So that's it for me. But let's go to performances and who we think would qualify for an Oscar. Now, with that being said, I think it's clear that if Sinners doesn't sweep, it's a problem. But again,
get your brooms out. Get your brooms out.
Well, I mean, you
We're
never know.
sweeping.
I mean, you hope so, but you just never know, man. You never know how this thing is going to go. So for me, I would think that Leonardo would be up for Best Actor. Sean Penn, I would say Sean Penn for Best Supporting Actor. Because even though I didn't like his character and what he was about, his portrayal of him was great. His performance was great. Best Supporting Actor, Tiana Taylor. Was she in this film long enough to be a Best Supporting Actress?
I mean, I guess so. I mean, I don't think she should, but I guess so.
Okay. All right. Well, those are the some of the character categories. Best Picture and Best Director. In no way do I think this is either. In no way. And I'm not trying to be funny. This is a good movie. I do not think it's Oscar worthy. That's just me. But with that being said, we have to rate it. For me, Jordan, this was a decent movie. I did enjoy it at times. There were some things that bugged me about it. But all in all, I'm with you. I don't know that I could refer it to anybody, but just on the experience and me watching it and what I took away from it, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Give me your thoughts on this movie.
I mean, like I said, I have a hard time recommending this movie to anyone. I don't think this movie is inherently bad in any sort of area. I just think there's a lot going on. And there's so much going on that I think there's not enough cohesion in this movie. And you'd think with a movie that's up for Best Picture that there would be cohesion, and there's not much cohesion here. Like the glue has not dried with this.
Right.
I have a hard time believing this movie is going to stand the test of time. I think it will not age well at all. Like some movies, when I get done watching them, I'm like, this movie is going to age great or it's going to age poorly. This movie is fitting for only this where we are at in society now.
Right.
10 years from now, nobody's going to remember this film. There's going to be very few people that remember this film. With that being said, when I do my ratings, it's based off how I would recommend it to someone. And I have a hard time recommending. I don't have many friends that are heavy into politics, mainly because I don't care too much about politics. And I don't like to get into it because it divides a lot of people. Whether you go one side or the other side or in the middle, it just seems like someone's always gonna have an issue with something. And I'm one that I love everybody, and I try to help them. So that's why I don't.
That you do.
This movie is just inherently political. If you like politics, I'm sure you'll probably like some of the things in this. Even then, there's a lot of comedic tones that I don't know. I don't know if I've ever met someone that's heavy into both politics and comedy outside of like a history professor. Um, like this is a very niche project. I think there are things it does, a lot of things that it does well, but not enough for me to recommend it to too many people for that. It's the bare minimum of a positive score that I can give a movie, and that's a 5 out of 10.
Understood.
I don't think I don't think I would I don't think Leonardo DiCaprio. Some people saying Leonardo DiCaprio this is his best performance. Did you not watch The Revenant, The Wolf of Wall Street, The Departed, or Titanic, or many other movies that I'm missing? I wouldn't even call this a top 5 performance by Leonardo DiCaprio. It's not. They're not even on the same floor in the same building as those other performances. So no. In fact, my favorite pick character of this whole movie is Benicio del Toro, which I don't really care for him as an actor all that much in a lot of movies, but I really enjoyed his character a lot just because he was so straightforward in his comedy that it was really funny. And the director made a lot of choices. I realize I don't really care for this director all that much. Actually, this is the first time I've seen a movie of his, but I've heard of his other movies and how they go. And I just don't, I don't care for this randomness in his style, unless it's in a straight up comedy. And this is not a straight up comedy. I don't think this works at all. I don't think this works well with that. And that's where that lack of cohesion is very abundantly clear. I think Sean Penn delivers a fantastic performance. If there's anything that I can take away from this film and say this could be an Oscar-winning film, it's Sean Penn's performance.
Agreed.
But that's really it. Otherwise, yeah, I don't think I'd watch this movie again. I think it's 5 out of 10, but just a one-time watch for me.
Okay. Well, yeah, it was. It wasn't a bad film. It was all over the place, man. I agree with you there. It was all over the place, and again, you had random things like I like black, but that was just like it served no purpose, and I'm like, okay. Anyway, let's go on to another movie that I think you and I both like probably a lot better. And that is Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, which is a Netflix movie. And if you haven't seen it, great story. It's based on the Frankenstein novel by Mary Shelley. And to me, this story, of all of the Frankenstein movies that I've seen, is more on brand with the story. Mm-hmm. And the premise is just this, that Frankenstein, as opposed to Frankenstein's monster, which a lot of people get that wrong. Frankenstein is actually Victor Frankenstein, and Frankenstein's monster is actually that Frankenstein's monster. But the monster in this story is clearly Victor Frankenstein. Okay? Mm-hmm. But like many monsters, he doesn't know he's a monster. Del Toro is known for bringing monsters to life in deeply emotional ways like The Shape of Water, Pan's Labyrinth, Hellboy, and this is no different in that this is a gothic romance, tragedy, and philosophical themed movie all rolled into one. The story follows Victor Frankenstein, played by Oscar Isaac, who does a great job, by the way. I'm a big Oscar Isaac fan. I like him.
Yep.
Victor is a brilliant scientist obsessed with unlocking the secrets of life and death. His ambition leads to him creating a living being from dead tissue, the creature known as Frankenstein's monster. Now, a little background. Victor's mom died when he was very little. Victor's dad was a baron and, had a lot of wealth. It felt like, I don't know that they say this, but it felt like their marriage was kind of arranged. I don't know that they say this, but that's just the vibe I got from it, because it really didn't seem like he loved his wife a whole lot. She was pregnant. We see him show up. He gives her some advice on what she could eat. And during the delivery of the baby, she dies in childbirth, and he doesn't really seem broken up about it. But Victor, who was with her every day, is obviously devastated by this, and he decides that his life's mission is going to be, I'm going to find a way to cheat death. I'm going to find a way to extend life everlasting. And he doesn't think beyond that. That's just his mission. Okay. The monster is portrayed by Jacob Elordi, who I felt like does a great job at being not just Frankenstein, but a misunderstood and lovable and very likable creature. But it's interesting how they do this, right? Because in the first scene, we see that Victor Frankenstein is found. His leg or his prosthetic leg is askew. And we hear Frankenstein roaring in the back, and he's like, Victor, Victor. And, all of he's found by a company of men aboard a ship. And, obviously they see this big hulking creature, so they start taking shots at it. And Frankenstein I tell you what, man, he's throwing dudes left and right. These bullets don't phase him. You know what I mean? And he's
Derrick Henry right here.
Yeah, he is Derrick Henry. Nothing's stopping him. And so they fire bullets at him, and he just keeps on coming. Finally, he gets within close range and starts throwing dudes left and right and dismembering bodies. And that's another thing. There's a degree of gore to this movie. So if you have a weak stomach, this is not the movie for you. I'm just going to tell you, especially when we get into how he constructs Frankenstein. Anyway, but we get our initial feeling for Frankenstein's monster is that this guy's a savage. Like, because he's just like, Victor, Victor, I want Victor. And I like the way they do that, because that's not what's going on at all. But we don't know that. And so he's trying to get on the ship. They're firing bullets. All of the men retreat, scurry up the little ladder to get into the ship. And they try to keep Frankenstein off. They can't. He boards the ship. He takes out some more guys. And finally, they pull out this huge gun, fire at him with it, and hit him and knock him off the ship. And this seems to knock him out. I don't know that he's dead, but it seems to knock him out. And so then we see Victor Frankenstein in private quarters with the captain, and he begins to tell his side of the story. And this is one thing I really liked about this film, that they juxtaposed the two vantage points. So we get Victor's vantage point, and we get Frankenstein's monster's vantage point. But I've been talking too long. Give me your first impressions about this first scene and just where we are.
This movie, I first of all, Guillermo del Toro, I loved Hellboy. I'm a huge Hellboy fan. And I worked the theaters when the first reboot of Hellboy appeared in theaters in 2019. And that was a rough movie. I didn't watch it all the way through, but every time I walked in that theater, I'm like, yeah, I want to leave. Whenever I was cleaning theaters, in between like cleaning theaters, I'd go and like get into a theater and just start watching whatever movie was on. And that movie, yeah, I was just like, nah, this is stupid. Mainly because Guillermo del Toro has a distinct style to him with his imagery, his makeup and effects are outstanding. In my opinion, they're my favorite. When it comes to any director in Hollywood, he is my favorite, like, aesthetic in terms of his makeup and design. Like, he always has a distinct style to him when he wanted to create Hellboy, and all the characters in Hellboy, that I was like, I love this so much. And with this, I love the way he designs Frankenstein's monster in this. And just the raw intensity of this monster, or just going through everybody. I mean, like I said, Derrick Henry in his prime Ray Lewis over the middle. Like this dude's a dog. I mean, Mike Singletary would have this dude out there at middle linebacker right now. Just an absolute unit, and this dude's taking shots left and right. Trying to get to Victor. We don't really know what he's doing, but what this movie does so well, like you said about juxtaposing both Victor and the monster's story, it starts off with Victor's story. In a way, you start to like Victor. You start to understand him. But by the end of his part of the story, you're like, wait, what are you doing now? For me, when I got done, I'm like, this felt like Anakin Skywalker's story. Like when you're watching The Phantom Menace all the way through Attack of the Clones, you're like, oh, I like this kid. And then by the end of Attack of the Clones, you're like, oh, why did you kill those? Why did you do that? Oh no, don't. Oh no. You start to realize like, okay, this guy's headed down the wrong path. And the same thing with Victor. It's like he got to a point where like he achieved his goal, but he thought that wasn't enough. And you're like, oh no, what are you doing? What are you doing now? Like this feels like you're headed down a dark path right now. And he is. And being able to show the monster's viewpoint was awesome to see. Just being able to see him like how that he's learned that, because Victor was treating the monster the way his dad treated him when he was younger in terms of physical abuse to cope with his mentality that his brain wasn't strong enough. And no abuse is ever okay. So like Victor was lashing out on the monster or in the same way, try and like activate his brain to be smarter, but that's not right. You just have to teach him a little better. So being able to see both vantage points is it's a beautiful way of telling the story. And look, I've seen a lot of Frankenstein adaptations, but this is probably my favorite outside of the original black and white film. It's such a great story. A lot of visuals in this movie that are stunning to see. Like I understand why this movie's up for Best Picture. I understand. Do I put it in the same breath as one other specific film that we'll get to tomorrow? No, but I still think this is a great adaptation of this story, especially this movie's this story of Frankenstein is so well known that you needed a fresh take on that and modernized take. And that's something that I'm so glad Guillermo del Toro was the one to do this, because honestly, if there's any director in Hollywood that I'd want to do some sort of movie like this outside of maybe Jordan Peele, it would be Guillermo del Toro. I mean, he was perfect for this.
Agreed. Very much so. It begs the question, and it's interesting when we get to the point. Well, let's take a step back, because there's a lot that goes on with Victor's character. So Victor had a younger brother, William, who is obviously the apple of his dad's eye, where William is just a conformist. He goes along with whatever dad wants. Victor is just the opposite. He's just got to question everything. They're polar opposites. And let's just say William is dad's favorite and leave it at that. But dad dies very young. And so William goes to stay with one relative and Victor goes to stay with another. And anyway, we see him grow up. We see him he's looking for financing for his project, in that he's trying to cheat death or whatever he's doing. And so he goes before this committee of people and shows this half of a dead body and the fact that he can send impulses to the brain and command it to do certain things. And these traditionalists that are in front of him are just appalled, and they're like, "This is heresy, and you shouldn't do this, and only God grants life," and da 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 da. And they sound exactly like that, by the way. And so he's like but Victor's arrogant at this point because Victor's smart and he knows it.
Did you see who one of the older guys was? The guy who played Galactus in the Fantastic Four First Steps was one of the guys.
Didn't see that.
There.
No.
He was the main guy talking. Like I knew I saw it right away, and I'm like, that's Galactus. I love him. He's awesome. Anyways.
No, I did a great job as Galactus, but at one of these meetings, he meets a benefactor, and the benefactor is the uncle of his brother's betrothed or his brother's fiance that he's about to marry. And he tells Victor this, and Victor's intrigued by this, of course. Victor shows him essentially what he's assembled. The benefactor gives him a location to conduct his experiments, and Victor gets to meet his brother's fiance. Victor is smitten with his brother's fiance, and he kind of goes about low-key wooing her, and she's initially attracted to him. It felt like, because when he finally says, "Look, I'm attracted to you, and I know you're attracted to me," and I'm paraphrasing, he doesn't put it that way, but she, in a way, in a fashion, in a particular style of response that you see in movies like this, addresses his concern by saying, "I don't have a choice. Even though I don't choose you," she tells him she doesn't have a choice, which to me kind of alludes to the fact that she's promised to William in some sort of agreement with either her parents or somebody that they're both connected to. Those are my thoughts. Give me your thoughts on what's going on in that scene when we see that.
Well, first off, I want to say Mia Goth is an amazing actress. I loved her in Pearl. That is one of the greatest acting performances I've ever seen in a horror movie ever. I don't care who else is in this movie. Like, Mia Goth in a Frankenstein movie makes total sense. But you can tell that they're both weird. And weird in a quirky, science-y, all right, you're mentally a little unstable, but they both like that.
Right.
So you have Oscar Isaac's Victor that's so obsessed with death and life and stuff like that, and then you have Mia Goth's character who's who likes seeing the details in science and different bodies and different insects and different creatures. And I mean, those two worlds can clearly intertwine with one another, and they're both weird, and they both like that about each other. But yeah, she knows that she made a promise, and that she has to marry her brother. So that's that, and she's very stern about that. That's going to happen. And Victor is trying to woo her in other aspects to try and get this this creature to form so that he can almost prove to her nah, you can walk away and we can be together. But that's just not how it ends up working for them.
No. Well, no, it doesn't. Anyway, the benefactor basically sees what's going on and says to him, "Look it, man, You got a certain amount of time, or I'm going to pull my financing. There's a storm coming, and you're going to have to make it happen. There'll be plenty of dead bodies. But he also addresses the fact that he sees what's going on with Victor and his niece, and he doesn't like it. Anyway, long and short of it, Victor, I guess William and his fiance end up leaving, going back to wherever they came from. And I feel like the benefactor was German because Victor calls him Herr, which is a German term, but I don't know like in what country this took place. I know there was some French speaking, but I don't know in what country this. I know it was in the 1850s, but I don't know where geographically this take place. So
it might be Germany or what was it, Switzerland? Because I went right before we started recording. I wanted to know where this takes place, but I know Germany is one of the locations that this takes place in. So it's very possible that this takes place in Germany.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. So
plus the origin of the name Frankenstein does date to German.
That makes sense. So William and his fiance go back to their residence. The benefactor and obviously Victor continue to work on his experiments. And, there's a section in the movie where it's just really, if you got a weak stomach, it's not for you, because he's cutting up body parts, merging body parts, and it is disgusting. And that's all I have to say about it. It's just disgusting. So it's necessary for the film, but I did not like it.
See, and with that scene, like, I've seen a lot of crazy horror movies, so like I was fine watching it. And look, you are right. If you have a weak stomach, you shouldn't watch that. When I tend to watch horror movies or scenes that have like depictions of this stuff, what goes through my mind is like because different movies depict organs in a certain way. And as time goes on, we get more realistic in terms of like veins and muscles and bones and stuff like that within the human body and their detail. That's what makes Guillermo del Toro perfect for this movie, because this is exactly the type of scene that only Guillermo del Toro would be able to perfect. But when I'm watching like the Terrifier movies, like they do a great job of showing like what would happen if you took a chainsaw and cut someone this way. And with this, it's so interesting to see. I look at it from more of a scientific point of view. I mean, yeah, there's some sick people that kind of look at it in a very weird way, but I look at it more as like, all right, there's your bone, there's your bone cavity, there's your muscle, there's the vein, and it was so interesting to see him building the body piece by piece and everything that he wanted this body to have from the different body parts that he was taking from. So like he wanted like the strong veins. So he took a body who had strong veins. He wanted a body that had strong muscle. So he went to a body that had strong muscles, strong calf muscles, strong thigh muscles, biceps, triceps, like pecs. Like he went for everything that he wanted in terms of building this perfect body. Hey, so yeah, I've always I've looked at that scene from like it's interesting because like, if this movie came out 10, 15 years ago or longer, you'd just be saying like, all right, here's a bunch of bodies and he's taking body parts, putting them into things. But there was strategy behind him building this perfect monster and this perfect creation. He wanted specific things for this body, and that's what he was looking for.
Right.
Again, if you have a weak stomach, completely understand. That's why I like horror movies, because there's just this, some stuff is stupid. And that's why Terrifier 3. I love talking about the Terrifier franchise, and people say if you like the Terrifier franchise, you're sick. I guess put me in a hospital bed. But that's there's a level of comedy to that, to those type of movies that I look at. Like when I went and saw Terrifier 3, one of the funniest theater experiences of my entire life, because the entire theater was cracking up laughing. And when I tell people that, they're like, what? I had a packed theater opening Friday night for Terrifier 3, and the entire theater was cracking up laughing, because it gets to a point where it's so sickening that it's like, what is going on right here? And it also doesn't help Art the Clown is a clown, so it just adds another funnier element to that. But yeah, I don't know. That's the way I interpret it. Am I sick? Yes. Are we all sick? Yes. I don't care. I love movies though, and yeah, that's kind of my thing. And yeah, I look at it from a scientific point of view, that like these are actual organs and actual stuff. I've also what helps is I've taken classes on what is it, blood spatter analysis. So a part of that, and just overall criminology, and looking at like very graphic scenes of like murders and stuff like that. That's what we had to do in high school and college. And there were like the O.J. Simpson case. I've seen all of the crime scene photos of that, and I've had finals taken, or I had to figure out where the blood spatter of someone getting slashed in the throat went onto a wall. Like I've had to do that all. So my mind just goes into a science when I'm thinking about like these bodies and stuff. People say ew, gross, but like I also know that these aren't real. And I'm going off on a tangent, but I know a lot of people who don't like horror movies. And I want to preface by saying I hated horror. I would never watch horror movies until I tore my patella when I was 16 years old, because I was so bored at home. And I'm like, I'm going to start watching horror movies. So I watched Paranormal Activity, Child's Play, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Halloween. I watched it all. And I realized that there's none of that's real. Nothing in those movies are real. So every time I watch a horror movie, I'm like, yeah, none of this is real. This is just a story. So that's why I can watch them. And I know a lot of people don't watch those movies because they're like, I'm going to throw up. But for me, it's like, I know they're fake.
All right. Well, hey,
that's
man.
My tangent.
Sometimes you got to get it out, right?
Yeah.
Back to, Frankenstein and where we are. So at this point, Frankenstein is, they're waiting for a perfect storm. He has assembled the perfect body, as you alluded to. All the muscular, everything is in play. He's discovered where to put the charge so that it is continuous. And as he's about to install, I think there are two components that he has to install. One is atop this tower above this building that he's installing. And suffice it to say, I don't think in real life he would have survived that, because as he's crawling up this structure, it's very slippery. The water is sticking to it. So in real life, he probably doesn't make that. But again, this is fiction. So he scales it perfectly, installs the constellation during a rainstorm, by the way, in which there is lightning ongoing. So I don't know why you would wait to do that. You probably should have done it like the night before, but hey, what do I know? Adds to the drama. So he comes back down. He's in the tower where he's getting ready to install the last piece, and his benefactor says, hey, that thing that I asked you about, the caveat, it's now. And he reveals that he has syphilis, which in the 1850s is like having AIDS, is a death sentence. And he says, I want to be the body that you use. And Victor Frankenstein's like, absolutely not. all of your organs are ruined. Absolutely not. And he's like, please, please, please. And they have this discussion where the benefactor is begging him. And he says, absolutely not. And so the benefactor, in an act of desperation, grabs one of the components and slips down this structure. I don't know why they have. Why I do. When I saw how the machine worked, I understand why they had it. But he slips down this structure. It's like basically a gigantic hole in the wall, and I think he falls like 50 feet. But essentially, he slips down the structure. Victor Frankenstein tries to catch him because he's got a component that's very important to this process in his hand, and he slips. His shirt rips, he slips, and the structure falls, and he dies. And Victor scurries down to the location where it happened, and he grabs it. And the component is damaged, but it's not damaged enough to not work. So he hooks up the component to the structure. The storm does its business. The structure acts as a conduit for the electricity to come down and shock Frankenstein into life, or the monster Frankenstein, but it doesn't work initially, or so we think. And so Victor deems himself a failure, says, I did all of this for work, I did all of this and it didn't work. I'm a failure. You know what? I'm just going to go to bed and go to sleep. And he goes to sleep, and I guess this demon or this dark entity that's in his dream reaches out to him, as it does so often during the film, and wakes up. And who does he see? He sees the monster Frankenstein. And he's like, oh my God, you're real. And it's their first encounter. And, you know, it's kind of endearing at first because he's like, oh, you're trying to understand this and you're trying to understand that, and da 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 da. And they have this montage where Victor is teaching him, and we think, wow, okay, this is great. And I'm thinking to myself at that point, well, what could have gone wrong? Like, you're up to this point, you're the perfect dad. You're teaching them about water and you're teaching them about this. And he says, Victor, Victor. And he can only say Victor. He can't say any other words. And to me, it reminded me of Guardians of the Galaxy, when Groot says, I am Groot, I am Groot, I am Groot, but they're different. There's different expression in his tone. And so although he uses the same words, his meaning is different. And that's kind of what I felt from the monster Frankenstein as he's going through this frustration period with Victor, because Victor thinks, I failed. This guy's an idiot. He can't learn the language. He can only say but so many words. And Victor begins to treat him badly. To your point, he begins to hit him and, oh, you can't do this, because now he's trying to use negative reinforcement to coach this guy. And this guy is essentially mentally a baby. He doesn't know. And he really is looking at Victor as though he's his parent. And the initial rejection is just awful. And he says, Victor, Victor, but he says it in different tones. But Victor, so to say he's emotionally unavailable or emotionally unintelligent is an understatement. He has no clue and he has no patience, right? And so his brother and his fiance show up because they haven't heard from her uncle, and she's looking for her uncle, and she hears Frankenstein's monster echoing something, and she comes to talk to him. And she engages him, Jordan, and she's warm. And her interaction is loving. And I think that's what Victor missed, is that you got to show people love if you want to invite them in. You have to be warm. You have to be caring. You have to be patient. And she's sitting there talking to him. And as she says, I'm Elizabeth, I'm Elizabeth. And as she gets up to leave, he says, Elizabeth. Right? So we see he can learn other words. Wait a minute. So it's got to be something with Victor Frankenstein's delivery. Okay? And she goes to Victor Frankenstein, and this is when I don't want to say she falls out in love with him, but this is when she becomes disinterested with him, because she's like, how can you treat him that way? Like, what have you done? Like, I know he's cold. Like, she's not happy with the way Victor's treating him. She's not happy at all. And Victor senses this, and gets jealous. And so when they get ready to leave, because she does scold him for a bit, when they get ready to leave, he's like, well, bump this. I'm gonna kill him, right? No. I think he does something. He goes down and he has an interaction with him again, and he's like, say something, say anything. And he doesn't say anything. And Victor hits him and hits him and hits him again. And he had started to fear him, which kind of broke my heart. Because to see this big man fear, like it said so much about the human condition and how we treat people and who the real monster is. And the real monster is Victor. Victor's a monster. Because this guy's Frankenstein's monster can't speak a lick of English. He is totally dependent upon you, and he's not been aggressive at all. He's just trying to learn. He's a big old lovable teddy bear that doesn't know how to speak. And if Victor wasn't the monster that he was, he would have recognized this, and they could have had a great father-son relationship. But he's such an asshole that he doesn't, right? And so he says to him, he continues to hit him. And Frankenstein's monster gets angry, grabs the stick or metal, whatever. What is it, like this casting iron for casting iron for a fireplace? But he grabs the casting iron and breaks it in two. And he says, Victor! And he screams his name. But what he's really saying is, I'm upset with you. But Victor's such a dumbass, he doesn't even recognize that this guy's communicating in different language. He doesn't recognize tone. He doesn't recognize it, even though he might say the same word, it has a different meaning. Because again, he's a scientist and he's just not good with people. He's not a people person. And so as he's walking away, Frankenstein's monster says, Elizabeth, kind of under his breath, right? But he's saying it to say, I can say another word, asshole. I can. But Victor doesn't see it this way. You know what Victor does in that moment, Jordan? Victor becomes jealous. And at that moment, he decides, I'm going to kill this guy. He bucked up on, but really what it's about is he knows that he has William's fiance's affections and he doesn't like it and he has the power to do something about it. And this is what he decides to do. And he sets a fire, essentially trying to kill Frankenstein's monster. And he has one moment. Would you say he had a moment of regret when he sees the explosion and tries to go in, or what would you classify that as?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that like when people start to do something that they that in their heart they don't want to do, but in their mind they do. There is that moment of regret, and he realizes like, oh, maybe it's not too late, but by then it's already too late. What he had already done, and as a repercussion of that, I mean, he gets blown away by the fire and the explosion, and ends up just snapping his leg basically off.
Yeah.
I mean, that is Alex Smith level injury. That is that is a rough, like what Lindsey Vonn basically went through, but like also the skin is gone too.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, Lindsey Vonn basically shattered her whole leg. It looked like you dropped a glass plate on the floor. Like, and I feel so bad for her. Like I say that in a very genuine way that like I was thoroughly upset when that happened. But like his leg literally just, again, Guillermo del Toro with his just like visually, like he knows exactly what to do in terms of like making things graphic and showing this dude's leg. Like, was it necessary for the plot? Maybe not. No. But was it cool to look at? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this is his first stage in atonement for what he's done. I really do. But anyway, his leg is shattered, and in 1850, like they're not going to be able to do anything. They don't have the technology. So essentially, he becomes an amputee, and they cut his leg off. Um, and it's at this moment in the story, as Victor is telling the captain that there's a pause, and he hears a commotion outside, and he's like, "I got to go outside." And he opens the door, and it's the monster of Frankenstein. And immediately, I think, "Oh snap! It's about to go down. Somebody's about to die. Like you killed 6-7 men to get to this dude. Somebody's about to die." And he comes in, and initially the captain comes at him or whatever, and he says, "Look, you've heard his story. Now hear mine." And it starts from the moment the fire is set and how he escapes from the fire, falling 120 feet off of this cliff, this waterfall, into this supporting pond or river, and washes up on shore. Now, interestingly enough, he must have learned how to swim because he doesn't cough up any water from his lungs. So, whatever. But we see him essentially in the wild, and he is walking in the woods, doesn't have any clothes, finds this cloak to put over himself, and we see him starting to interact with deer. And he eats a berry from this wild bush and gives the deer a berry, and they're bonding. And the next thing you know, the deer gets shot in the head. Again, graphic, because I don't know that I would let my niece watch this, because that scene was like, oh, wow, okay. So the deer dies, and Monster Frankenstein stands up, and they shoot him, and he starts to run, and you just feel so bad for the guy because nobody understands him, and they immediately see him as a threat. And he goes to this family house and goes to this, I don't know, like a shed? Would you call it maybe a shed, a part of the house maybe, where nobody really goes, and there are mice there. And the interesting thing about Monster Frankenstein is mice don't bother him. Animals don't bother him. They come rest on his shoulder, and they feel safe. So that tells you that he's not a threat at all. Because if the animals will come, this is a rat, and he just sits on your shoulder, and he's not threatened by you. The deer are not threatened by him, right? Every creature that he comes across, except for the wolves, and they were kind of, wolves, they don't fear him. So that lets you know he's not a malicious personality at all. He's not a threat. But he sits there and he sees this family, and the hunters that killed the deer are coming back, and they live here. But they also have a grandfather who's blind, and Frankenstein's monster says, "I learned from him, this wise blind man." And he says, "And I began to do things for them." And so he would bring them wood, and lots of wood to burn for the fireplace. And the grandfather called him the spirit of the woods, or the spirit of the wilderness, or the spirit of somebody. I can't remember. But anyway, he began to do these kind things for him. He built a fence for them, which, this is where it's kind of unrealistic, because somebody building a fence at night, you're going to hear that. I'm just saying, especially when you're in the woods and there's no other noise. You don't have TV. You don't have radio. That's going to be particularly loud. But whatever. He builds the fence, and the grandfather begins to call him, I think, the spirit of the wilderness. Anyway, the hunters and their family, decide they have to go into town and do something, and they leave the grandfather there. And it's at this point that the monster Frankenstein decides to take a chance and come out and meet the grandfather. And, he says, "Oh, you're the spirit of the wilderness." And the grandfather has warned him. He's blind, so he can't see him. So he doesn't know what he is. He can't see him to judge him, but they have this interaction. And this dude is a sweet old man, and he just begins to befriend him and doesn't judge him. And there's really a bond there. And the old man kind of teaches him how to read. I don't know how he teaches him how to read because he's blind, but whatever. He teaches him how to read books, and he gives him books to read, and he gives him a sense of stability, a sense of self. And he reads the Bible and he talks about that. But there really is a friendship that they build. And he says, I need to go and find out where I'm from. I need to go and find out about myself. And he goes to Victor Frankenstein's old residence and finds the books where Victor was creating him. And he comes back to him and he says, I'm a monster. And the wise old man says, no, you're not. He says, you're my friend and you're a good person. And he tells him this story about how he killed a man when he was younger and he regretted it. But the point of it is forgiveness. And the fact that you got to forgive yourself, but you also have to forgive other people. And you don't have to stay who you are today. Who you are today is not necessarily who you are tomorrow. You can reinvent yourself. You can be a better person. And he takes this and he's super excited. And I forget the sequence, but anyway, he leaves. No. I'm sorry. I'm out of sequence. As he comes back, wolves have entered into the domicile. And they have attacked the old man. And let's just suffice it to say, the monster of Frankenstein administers some justice. Okay, because the wolves are attacking him and he's breaking them left and right. And ultimately, he holds up one of them and goes, roar, and throws him down. And the other wolves decide, you know what? I don't think I want to smoke with you, buddy. I'm going to leave. And so then there's this interaction with the old man. And he says to him, hey, man, you're my friend and you're a good person. And he dies. Right. Which is sad. It really is a sad moment because this was Monster Frankenstein's only friend. And I've been talking way too long. So give me your thoughts as to what's going on in this scene and thus far from Monster Frankenstein's viewpoint.
I mean, I think this story is sort of a metaphor for just raising children. And it's so weird to say that, but look, I don't have kids, so I can't relate too much to that, but I have younger cousins that I've taken care of, a lot of them. And with Victor, Victor had book smarts, and anyone if they try hard enough can have book smarts. That's very clear. But he didn't have any emotional intelligence to realize that that's what the monster needed. That's what the monster needed the whole time.
Right.
In order for him to learn, he needed to be emotionally more mature. Emotionally nurtured.
Right.
So, and that's why it was so quick to learn Elizabeth's name. And that's why I was so quick to learn Victor's name, because at Victor's most emotionally, strongest was when he first met him and wanted to he wanted anything. He realized and that he had created life, and he was so proud of that moment that was when he was at his most mature emotionally.
Right.
And going forward, he was not. So, by the monster just sitting there and learning, just like these children, and learning from a wise old man, he was able to be more emotionally mature and learn. He literally says, he describes what words are in terms of noises coming out of people's mouths. So that's all he ever needed. And he finally found that with this old man. And what's awful about this is right after this scene, you have the hunters who came back thinking that the monster killed this old man.
Right.
And they go to shoot him. But they shoot him so much to the point that they think he's dead.
Right.
The monster thinks he's dead. and then he comes back to life, and in that moment he realizes I am so cursed that I can't even die.
Right.
That's the saddest part about this whole movie. He realizes he can't even die properly, even when he wants to die. And that's the part that he hates Victor about. And so he realizes in that moment he just wants a companion, and that's when he goes back to Victor, and he goes to Victor. Obviously, Victor's the one person who can create someone like that.
Right.
So that's all he wants. He just wants someone to relate to and someone to share a life with. If he can't die like everyone else, he wants to live.
Right.
And so that only way is to find someone else. So there's this whole part of the story is the most powerful, and it's what reeled me in, I think, the most into the story, because getting into Victor's part, it is very not stereotypical, but it was a pretty, like, we understood what was happening. But then as soon as you switch viewpoint, you're like, you realize, oh, like you said, Victor is the monster in the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. He shows up at their wedding and he's like, either give me a companion or give me death, man. Like, I can't die. You did this to me. And some kind of way, I think Monster Frankenstein is engaging with, no, I'm sorry. William's fiance walks in and she sees them. And this is after the discourse that Victor and, let's call him MOF, have had their exchange, and he gets out the gun and she's like, no, you're not going to shoot him. And he's such a dummy. Because why would you see her in the vicinity? Why are you that arrogant that you could just fire that gun?
But this is a symbol of the whole movie in itself, that Victor is always looking at life and death, that he's not living his life. He's always looking at his target instead of in front of his target the entire time. So in that moment, it symbolizes the entire movie from Victor's point of view.
Yeah. Agreed. So, of course, he hits William's fiance, and everybody hears the commotion. They come in the room. And Victor lies and tells them, "Oh, the monster did it." And again, it kind of pissed me off, but it's on brand with Victor. He's not going to take accountability for what he did. And so they attack the monster, and he starts breaking them up one at a time. Boom, 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 boom. And he picks up William's fiance and leaves, and nobody attacks him because they've seen what he's done to the folks that did. And he takes her off to this quiet place, and she says, "You're the only person I've ever connected with. Just look at me as I fade away." And I think she really did. I think he was her true love. I think this is what the writer's trying to say, in that because she liked quirky things, I think Frankenstein or MOF understood her on a level that nobody else did. I think their connection was real. And I think she's saying this in this moment. And I think MOF is saying, Jesus, what do I got to do, man? You know what I mean? Like, the one person other than my friend over here, and now she's taken away, and he's angry. And so now he comes after Victor, not with vengeance, but you need to kill me. You need to kill me or find me a companion, one of the two. And, Victor says, well, I'll tell you what, here's some dynamite. He says, fine, give it to me and run. And if it does the job, fine. But if it doesn't, I'm coming for you and you're going to give me a companion or something to that end. Anyway, Victor tries to take off or whatever and lights the candle of dynamite, and it blows up, and it doesn't kill him, but in the explosion, we find Victor, how the company of men at the beginning of the movie find him, and now we've all caught up.
Mm-hmm.
And what it's interesting in that in the time that it takes MOF to get to Victor, to get on this boat again, to take on these men or whatever and get there, he's had time to reflect. And all he's looking for at this point is just forgiveness. He wants to forgive Victor. At this point, I understand what's going on, and Victor is dying. And, as Victor really sees him and sees what he's done and sees that what he thought was the monster can now talk and relate and read, it hits him that I got this all wrong. All this guy needed was love. And Victor says to him, hey, if you can forgive me, that's great. But being that you can't die, live your life, experience your life, go out and live your life, son. And he calls him son. And this is kind of a moment where, it brings them together. And they hold hands, and the monster of Frankenstein kisses Victor on the head, and Victor dies. And it's such a transformative event because the captain, who was diametrically opposed at the beginning of the movie, has found a level of compassion and respect for MOF that he didn't have. As a matter of fact, when he opens the door, he says, put your guns down. He's going to walk out and nobody better bother him. And that's exactly what happens, which is weird. This is 1850. This guy at this point has probably killed 10 of their men. And the captain says, let him walk out and he's free, which lets you know the captain has empathy for him and really probably sides with him in that, yeah, Victor was wrong. And he walks off of the ship, climbs down. The ship is actually stuck in the ice, and Monster of Frankenstein pushes the ice away or pushes the ship out of the ice. And now they get to go home as kind of recompense for what he's done, but paying back the captain in that he let him leave. And we see him walk off into the sunset. And I thought this scene was beautiful, man. I really, really enjoyed this because there are a couple of messages in this. In that, number one, you got to forgive. You got to forgive if you want to live a healthy life. If not, you're just going to be stuck for the rest of your life. I think that was definitely a message. But the other one was, live life while you got it. And that you shouldn't treat people based on how they look. Because you might be attacking a really good person. And a lot of times the monsters are not who we think they are. They're right next to us. But what I really loved was the passage at the end, and it says, and thus the heart will break, yet brokenly live on. And I like that because that's 100% right. You do go through, if you live this life long enough, I'm here to tell you, you're going to go through a broken heart, whether that's family, whether that something's going to break your heart, and you got to live through it. You got to go on. And I think that's one of the main themes of this movie, in that, yes, Frankenstein goes through some heartbreak or whatever, but he learns to live with it. The other thing is, this is a really pretty Frankenstein. It's probably the best looking Frankenstein or monster Frankenstein I've ever seen in my life. Like, I know he's put together and you can see that they're patches of skin that are together, but he doesn't have the screws in his neck. And even though I think this is by design. I think we get a softer visual version of Frankenstein, which, by the way, the cinematography in this movie is 100% excellent. Chef's kiss, got nothing to say about it. 100% love this. But hey, I've talked long enough. Jordan, give me your thoughts on this final scene as to what's going on.
No, quick on the cinematography, I'll touch on. There's a scene at the end of this when the dogs are barking and the sun is setting, and you see the monster in the distance with his legs like bent inwards, and it's just a still shot. And it, of all the scenes of One Battle After Another, Frankenstein, and an F1 that I've seen, that is visually just the best shot of any of those three movies for me. It's just it's so eerie, and you can see how cold it is, and you're terrified in that moment.
Yeah,
And it's such a good shot. It's such a cool shot. But the end of this movie, it's I I don't know. I wish I don't know when Victor really learns his lesson. I don't know if hearing maybe the story from the monster's point of view maybe it changed his viewpoint. That's what I'm going to assume. It's just the way things unfolded in the last few moments. It's like, and throughout the second half of the film, it felt like was just kind of running away from the monster to survive. But I wish I saw more of like him saying this was my, outside of his literal deathbed. I wish I would have slowly seen him been like, oh, this is my fault. I shouldn't have done it. And I really didn't see it. It almost felt like instant after the monster was already done his story.
right.
So maybe if there's any complaints of the final part, that was probably it. Also, just the monster forgiving. I felt like maybe the ending was a little too rushed. Because it felt like everyone kind of resolved things by just like because Victor was dying. So Victor's saying his dying words, and then the monster's sort of like accepting that and saying like, Victor, I forgive you. I felt like, especially since like in real time, like 30 minutes prior, he's trying to kill him. So like, I felt like maybe the ending was a little rushed. I felt like we could have pushed a little bit more in terms of the like Victor saying it's my fault and the monster then for also forgiving him and understanding him. So it would also been nice for the monster to understand Victor's story, and because that's something that at the end of this, the monster doesn't know Victor's story. Unless at some point he did off screen, but during the screen time we saw, the monster did not know Victor's backstory and like how he was abused when he was little. And I think that would have been something to have brought to light and for the monster to understand Victor.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, maybe a little rushed in the finale is to just tie things together. But overall, I love this movie. I mean, there's so many life lessons in this movie, and yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie a lot.
Yeah, I did. I think Oscar Isaac and Jacob Elordi both give Oscar-worthy performances. I'm not saying they're going to win, but they were both very good in their own right. I have no issue with either performance. I felt Jacob's performance of Monster Frankenstein to me was refreshing because he was the most human. And I think the whole crux of the book is that, you know, in this case, the monster wasn't the monster Frankenstein. It was Frankenstein by his ambition and his pursuit of the unattainable and how he would just do anything to make it happen. And when it did happen, because he never first saw, well, what do I do if it actually happens? He was just cruel. He was just a monster. And, you know, I liken that to parents who have kids with disabilities and how, when they get the kid, they don't know how to treat it. They don't take the time to understand it because it's not perfect. It's not what they wanted. It's not what they expected. Right? You get what I'm saying? Like, one thing I know about kids, I got 3 of them. Kids come here with certain things, whether you want them to or not. They come here with certain things in them. As a parent, it's your job to bring out the best in them, whatever that is, wherever that takes you. And I don't think Victor Frankenstein gave that one bit of thought. I think he just wanted to extend life, prove a point. I think he thought it was going to be perfect. I think he is arrogant as all get out to think that. But that's him. But again, ultimately, both performances to me are Oscar worthy. The production and design, second to none. Director, I mean, how can you not love Guillermo del Toro? So to me, those are your opportunities for an Oscar performance. Do I think they'll win? Not really. I think Sinners is going to sweep it. But again, these do prove themselves Oscar worthy. If I had to rank this film, I would give it an 8.5 out of 10. Again, I know I gave one battle after another a 7, but to me, it was a good movie. Is it Oscar worthy? No, but it was a good movie. But this to me is just excellent. It hits all the notes that you want. It connects with you as a human being. So I gave it 8.5. I can't wait to hear what your rating of this is, sir.
I'm going to touch base on what you said in terms of Oscar Isaac and Jacob Elordi. Jacob Elordi, his like mannerisms as the monster were so amazing.
Yes.
Like that's an Oscar level acting right there. That is because you need to like contort your body in certain ways, and he does it awesome, so amazing, and I applaud him for that. He is the best actor on. It's crazy because Oscar Isaac is an amazing actor. I love Oscar Isaac in so many things. Even though people don't even like a lot of people don't like Moon Knight. I like Moon Knight, and I like Oscar Isaac in Moon Knight.
Agreed.
I like Oscar Isaac. I semi like Oscar Isaac in the Star Wars movies. I don't think it's his fault. I think it's more just studio interference and Kathleen Kennedy. But like if I see Oscar Isaac in something, I'm like, yeah, this guy's gonna do a great job. And Mia Goth, like I said before, like Mia Goth is an amazing actress.
Yes.
I loved her in the X trilogy, where it's X, Maxine, and Pearl, but especially in Pearl. Like Pearl, I gave that a movie a 9.5 out of 10. That movie was incredible. And it is the best acting I've seen from an actress ever. That's the level I will put it on. I've never seen a movie where like we can talk about Silence of the Lambs with Jodie Foster, but I wholeheartedly have never seen a movie with better acting from an actress ever than Pearl. So I know what she can bring to the table no matter what. And with all of these names, also John Malkovich is in this movie too. With all of these names, and Jacob Elordi does the best acting out of all of them. Bravo to him. Absolutely bravo to him. I have not seen him in other movies. I know about his other movies. None of them seem like my cup of tea in terms of, I know Wuthering Heights just came out. That's not up my alley. I just don't, it's not up my alley. And I've seen other people talk about the movie. I don't know if I'll ever watch it.
Right.
Same thing goes with Saltburn. I've never seen Saltburn. I've heard a lot of people watch Saltburn. That's not a movie that I'm probably ever going to watch. I know he's in Euphoria, but I have never seen Euphoria. I don't know if I might or might not watch that show. He's been in the Kissing Booth movies. Haven't seen any of those. Probably won't watch any of those. The only movie that's actually been on my radar in terms of movies that I would like to watch is Priscilla, because that's an Elvis Presley movie and about Priscilla Presley. So that was a movie that was on my radar, so that's probably a movie I'll watch after this. But I mean, he did such a fantastic job that I'm curious to see him in projects going forward. But in terms of my ranking of this, also I'll talk on Guillermo del Toro. If anyone is going to beat out um, um, Ryan Coogler for Best Director this year for Sinners, I wouldn't be shocked if it was Guillermo del Toro. In terms of what he was able to bring with this movie, he did such a great job of just everything. The direction of this movie was incredible. I don't think it'll beat out Ryan Coogler. I think Ryan Coogler was so great and so involved in Sinners that I think he will end up winning. But I wouldn't be shocked if Guillermo del Toro were to steal that from him. But yeah, I ended up giving this a 9 out of 10. This was one of my top movies of the year. I mean, looking back on all of my movies from 2025, this ended up being what movie? This ended up being my this ended up being a top 5 film for me on the year. No, fifth or sixth on the year. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I think it was a great movie. This is one of those interpretations of Frankenstein that, like, I will recommend to people. In general, the story of Frankenstein is such a classic that I think it's something that I never read the original Frankenstein book. I would love to, and I think it's something that there's certain works of literature that we should be required to read in school.
Mm-hmm.
I wholeheartedly think that Frankenstein is one of the top 5 books that should be read across America and across the world. I think everybody. I have not read it again, but I know so much about it that it needs to be read by everybody. And I will touch base on, side note, I will touch base on one movie that isn't up for Best Picture, in my opinion, should. Because this movie from last year stuck with me so much that I think about it probably once a week since I've seen this movie. The Long Walk. Yeah. I think a lot of it had to do with, at the time, I don't remember what Stephen King said. I don't remember. I just know he went to social media, said something. I don't know. And then a lot of people got frustrated. And he said it the opening weekend of this movie, so it led to a lot of people being like, I don't want to see this movie. And it ended up, I don't even know where The Long Walk ended up, financially speaking. But when I saw that movie, I thought about that after I got done watching all of these movies, and because I was thinking about, just in general, my top movies from last year, because last year was a pretty good year for movies for me. And Sinners and The Long Walk stuck with me the most. I mean, I gave The Long Walk a 9 out of 10. But its impact on me, it tells a life lesson, and like Frankenstein, the story is about life itself. But with The Long Walk, it's ironically straightforward. This where these people are going to die, and you're the entire time. I have people every day when I suggest this movie to people, they're like, "Why would you make friends with people?" And you know that all of you but one of you is going to die, and isn't that part of life, though? I mean, we go.
That is life. That is life. We make friends with people, and all of us are going to die.
Yes.
In this case, this is just a shorter timetable, but that is life. To your point.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this story so beautiful. And because there are parts of the movie when I was watching it where I'm like, why are they having these conversations when they're all going to die. But then I'm like, that's the beauty of life. That's why you live life. That's why you go about your life, and you have the fun while you can. Now, personally, would I partake in this walk? No. But a lot of these people, it was like, well, they were either going to die a short life, or either way, or you go on this walk and risk it all. So that's a movie that, in my opinion, while we talk about Frankenstein, while we talk about One Battle After Another, that movie, in my opinion, while I also gave it a 9 out of 10 like Frankenstein, I think just that movie has spoken to me that to a point that I might watch it again and give it a 9.5 out of 10 because I think about that movie so much. I only gave one movie from last year a 9.5 out of 10 or higher, and that was Sinners. But that is my second favorite movie from last year, was The Long Walk. And I wholeheartedly believe, with the cinematography, with the directing, with the acting, and with the overall story, that The Long Walk should have been up for Best Picture.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. Well, hey, maybe we can do a non-Oscar presentation of movies that should have been nominated. Maybe. I don't know, but hey, either way, I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. You gave this movie a, what is it? 9? You gave this a 9 out of 10. Wow, that's like one of the few times where mine was lower than yours. I'm gonna write this down. I'm gonna write that almost never happens. But either way, Jordan, I can't thank you enough for joining me. To those of you who will watch this, we can't do anything but thank you. We love talking about movies with you guys, whether it's Marvel or Oscar content or anything in between, or both, or all. We just appreciate you tuning in to our channel and just, joining with us and fellowshipping with us and, watching us talk about things that we love and are passionate about, which are movies. So we will be back tomorrow, and we will be doing F1, Formula One, and my favorite, Sinners. I am not shy about Sinners. Is one of the best movies I've seen in a while. It was very well done. It takes you on a journey. Just wow. It's what a ride. And I purposely have not watched it again. I've probably seen it 4 or 5 times, but I've not watched it again. I'm going to watch it tonight and tomorrow. What a treat. We will be here again, probably 6:30, 7 o'clock, whatever time. And we only ask that you just join us and come with an open mind and, let's have some fun. Either way, Jordan, tell these folks where they can find you, man.
You can find me at Ultegacy, Ultegacy. We're posting all things sports related. We have NBA playoffs are going to be starting soon. World Baseball Classic is started this week. We got NHL trade deadline is this week. A lot of sports content. Olympics is over, obviously, but yeah, you can check us there. Awards. We're doing our awards right now from the NFL season, now that the NFL season's over. So in probably a month, you'll be seeing our division awards, conference awards, and league awards. And then we'll get into like mock draft season, and the NFL draft will be like a month and a half away. But if you want to watch anything, if you want to see anything when it comes to like film and stuff, what I'm watching lately, you can obviously watch it me here and all our videos. You can also follow me on Instagram to see what I'm watching lately. Or you can follow my Letterboxd. I have all my movies rated. I have all the Marvel movies rated. All these movies that we're doing here are rated. Any movie that I have seen recently is rated. I do a scale of 0.5 to 10. But you'll see the stars on there. They only go 1 to 4, or 1 to 5. But yeah, most recently, this past Saturday, I watched Scream 7. Not good. Even in hindsight, thinking about the movie, it might end up dropping the next time I watch it.
I've checked a lot of the reviews, and I've not come across a positive one yet. So
yeah, In fact, in my list of Scream movies, and I actually really enjoy the Scream franchise. And from everybody I've talked to, they're like, well, obviously, you get to 7 movies in the franchise, the movies are going to go downhill. Well, Scream 6 and Scream 5, I really enjoyed them to a point. They are 2 of my top 4 Scream movies.
I did too.
And I gave them positive reviews. Scream 6 was my second favorite Scream movie ever, behind the original. But yeah, this movie, I have 3 Scream movies that I've negative reviews for. That was one of them.
Yeah.
So that puts it into perspective. And again, I might end up watching it again when it comes like on streaming and be like, no, this is worse than I thought. Like it genuinely. I put up a meme on my Instagram talking about this movie. It's a Dwayne Johnson meme talking about Tyrese's rap album, saying this is dog. That's because it was pretty bad. So yeah, I'll watch any movie that's coming out.
Well, now you're not going to be a fan of the show. Jeez, Jordan.
No. And the next movie that I'm probably going to see, I wonder, I don't know what movies are coming out soon.
Michael Jackson's coming out in April, right?
Yeah, of course. Yes, of course.
You're gonna see that one.
I'm obviously going to see that. I have a feeling I'm going to see a couple movies before then. I'm not seeing this Wuthering Heights. No offense to anyone. I know there's another Frankenstein movie that's coming out, The Bride, which is directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal. Christian Bale is in it, and Jake Gyllenhaal are in it. I'm curious about that movie. If reviews get really good, I might go see it. But I mean, it's not really on my radar of movies that I'm going to see.
Mm-hmm.
But there's movies really start to pick up in April. So my gut feeling is the first big movie of the year is going to be Michael. So I'm really looking forward to that. Everything I see about that movie is nothing but positive things. Also, on a side note, because of our Marvel stuff, because we're going to be reviewing Age of Ultron and Jessica Jones tomorrow or on Saturday, I heard from higher ups in Disney that they saw Avengers Doomsday, and they feel higher ups in Disney and rival studios have said that Avengers Doomsday will likely be the highest grossing film of the year.
I heard that as well. I heard that.
That's all I needed to hear. That's you know what? Leave it at that. I don't need to see a trailer. I don't need to see anything else. I'm going to be seated opening night. I will go see this movie. I will love it because there's no way I'm going to hate it. I'm going to give that movie a positive review. I don't care. If that's a 5 out of 10 movie, I will be a hater on the movie. But otherwise, I will be seated. I'm ready. That's all I needed to hear. I just needed someone, especially a rival studio. When a rival studio says it's going to be the highest grossing film of the year, that's saying something. That when your hater is loving on you, that's when you know you did something right. So I'm looking forward to that. This is going to be a good
Pause.
What are you pausing for? Wait, what are you pausing for? What are you pausing for? What are you pausing for? We're gonna. This is number 2 of me grabbing the mic. What are you pausing for? What are you pausing for? Pause.
Because I felt like it. I don't know. It just seemed appropriate when your haters love it on you. I don't know. I just paused. Felt like an appropriate intercession there. I could be wrong. Whatever. It's okay. It's all good. I'm a little wacky because I'm sleepy, because I'm old. So whatever. And Jordan, we have so much to do this week. We literally got to do, what are we doing tomorrow? F1 and Sinners, which is going to be so much fun. But I'm going to be so tired after it because I love Sinners, and I know you love Sinners, and we're we're gonna talk forever about that. And then the next day, we've got Jessica Jones and Age of Ultron, and then Sunday we've got another one, right? Jordan, I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Oh my God, what'd you do to your mic? I still can't hear you, bro. Oh, you're doing something.
I think
You're unmuted. Huh? I hear you. Hello? You think you broke what?
I think I broke my mic.
Oh, damn. Why would you do that?
No, I can't hear you.
Oh, damn. Why, Jordan? Why? Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead and end this, and obviously we're going to cut that out. So, hey, we'll be back tomorrow again for my ATL movies on YouTube. Come check us out. Please like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends. If you're into ATL Sports, for my ATL Sports 1 on YouTube as well, come check us out. I'm T. Will. This is my friend Jordan. And we will be back tomorrow talking about F1 and Sinners, obviously. So you guys have an amazing night. I want to thank God for giving us this opportunity. And to all who join or will join, thank you. Good night, everybody. This movie was about...
Lights, camera, action is going down. For my ATL movies, when we run to town with your host, T. Will, yeah, keeping it real. From the A to the screen, you can feel the thrill. Rolling with the classics, we're setting the pace. Highlighting the magic of our soulful space. Got the vibe, got the crew, making it tight. When the screen lights up, everything feels right. Grab your popcorn, let's make it loud. T. Will, T. Will. It's movie time, ATL style. Stand proud. From the silver screen to the hearts we steal. T. Will, T. Will. Every frame we capture is a real deal. Yeah. Talking premieres where the stars align. ATL views, yeah, they really shine. Behind the lens